Hello, greetings and salutations. My name is Jenny Marlowe, and I'm the head of content at Commerce Next. And on behalf of the entire Commerce Next team, welcome to today's webinar. Today is Wednesday, February 19th, 2025, and we are presenting our Storytelling Meets Commerce, Engaging and Converting with Killer Content. Full disclosure, today is my very first webinar with Commerce Next, and I am very lucky, and you are very lucky that we have such amazing thought leaders today. We have actually Schapiro. She's the VP of Marketing, Media, Performance, and Engagement for American Eagle. Carly Gomez, SVP Marketing for Fabletics. Angela Clark, who's the VP of Digital Studio for Patagonia. Colleen Waters, VP E-commerce Steve Madden. And Manish Nirmal, VP Sales Engineering and Enablement for Vimeo. Next up, the webinar sponsor is Vimeo today. So thank you very much for sponsoring today's webinar. And I would like to give a huge shout out to Maddie at Vimeo for all of our hard work behind the scenes. As I'm sure you know, we could not bring these webinars to you without the support of our partner sponsors. And a huge thank you to the Commerce Next staff. We have Alan, Tracy, Corey, Robert, Scott, and Veronica, who are all off screen helping to make this webinar a success. And as always, thank you to you, dear audience, for being part of today's webinar. So here's what's coming up next at Commerce Next. Our next webinar is on March 5th, and it's all about the inspiring digital experiences shaping 2025. We have Commerce Next co-founder Scott Silverman leading that discussion, and he'll be joined by Becca Magnanelli, VP e-commerce coach, who also happens to be a 2025 Commerce Excellence Award winner. We have Sarah Morphus, Senior Director E-commerce and Digital at Kendo Brands, Anshuman Taneja, Chief Product Officer at Gap, and Tarek Mueller, who's the co-founder and co-CEO from About You and Scale. This upcoming webinar is going to be sponsored by Scale, and you can register by clicking on the link that's going to be provided in the chat. Speaking of registrations, it is time to register for our big event, the E-commerce Growth Show, which is going to be June 24th to the 26th in New York City. June is only 4 months away, so mark your calendars. I'll let that sink in. Registration is free for leaders who are from scaled retail and D2C brands, and we have an amazing travel program which provides up to $1,200 in travel reimbursements in exchange for participating in our one-to-one meeting program. It's going to be our biggest and best show yet. We have 4 fantastic keynote speakers that are already lined up. We have Kim Waldman, who's the Global Chief Customer Officer at Foot Locker, Craig Bromers, the CMO at American Eagle, Fiona Tan, CTO at Wayfair, Tom Ward, EVP and Chief Operating Officer at Sam's Club. So you can go to commercenext.com/conference, or you can look for that link in the chat. If you missed any of our past webinars, or if you missed last year's growth show, we took video of it, so you can find it all on YouTube. We have more than 500 videos covering all topics digital commerce. It's a great resource. Corey's going to put that for you in the chat as well. So a couple of housekeeping notes. One, we are recording this webinar. So as I mentioned, if you miss anything, don't worry. You can find it on YouTube. It'll be in your inboxes later. And then I also want to take a minute just to remind everyone of the webinar platform functionality. This is really important because we want to break the fourth wall with this. We want you to engage, and this is how you do it. So there are 4 tabs on the upper right-hand side of your screen. You have the chat, the Q&A, the polls, and the handouts. You can use the chat tab when you want to talk amongst yourselves, or if you want to give a shout out to one of the speakers today. You can use the polls tab to participate in the audience polls, and then once they close, you'll be able to see the results in there. The handouts tab is where we have today's presentation and other useful information for you to download. Vimeo has actually provided an additional handout on video best practices that you can find there. And again, today's presentation will be there as well. And then the most powerful tool at your disposal is the Q&A tab. We very much want you as the audience to be an active part of the webinar. I am the moderator, and I might have missed something today. If I'm not asking the right questions, please help me out. Put the Q&A in the Q&A tab, and I will read them to our panelists. And remember that even if you don't have a specific question, you can just upvote the other audience questions. This helps me to prioritize which is important, and I'll make sure that those get bubbled to the surface, and I will ask our panelists those questions. And lastly, if you're watching this on replay, thank you. And please note that the handouts are also available to you. You can click on the highlighted document icon at the bottom there on that video player. And now, for the moment that you've been waiting for, I'm going to finally zip it, and I'm going to hand over the reins to our first speaker. We have Manish Nirmal, VP Sales, Engineering, and Enablement of Vimeo. He's going to tee us up with his expert take on how to use video to engage and convert. Manish, welcome.
Thanks, Jenny. Great job. Your first time going through this. Appreciate everyone on the call today and inviting us over to host. Again, my name is Manish Nirmal, and I'm the VP of Solutions and Enablement at Vimeo. Super excited to kick off this panel discussion where storytelling meets commerce, engaging and converting with killer content. We're going to dive into how you can leverage content more broadly in the panel discussion that's going to follow this. But since I work for Vimeo, I figured we'd start by focusing on how you can use video to engage and convert customers in the retail space. So quick agenda walkthrough of what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about Vimeo, of course, benefits of video for increasing sales and customer engagement, 3 ways you can use video to engage and convert your customers, and then we'll move into the panel discussion, of course. I don't know if you guys could raise hands, but how many people have actually heard of Vimeo before? We've been around since 2004. We actually came out before YouTube did, but we had a slightly different focus. We were a place where creators could share and create content and showcase their work to the world. And this is still core to what Vimeo does today. But over the last 8 years or so, we've become the video solution for some of the world's largest retailers. And you can see a sample of some of the logos on the bottom here. We really see 2 primary use cases for our retail customers. One of them is external marketing, which is what we're here to talk about today. And the other one is internal communications, learning and development, which I do at Vimeo, as well as doing things like onboarding trainings, company updates, etc. So you may be asking, why do companies choose Vimeo? Well, the reality is that when we move into this day and age and the use of video has proliferated, our retailers have a ton of content out there and they have no way to really manage that content. So Vimeo Marketing provides a platform that manages all this content for you and gives you a really easy way to access it and manage it across the board. Another important thing is that you can measure the impact and the value of your strategy. So you're not just creating video for the sake of creating video, but you can understand what that video has on your ROI and revenue overall. One other example of the things we're doing around innovation that other video platforms don't provide is really around AI. Everyone's using AI today. AI is in the news every day. One of the innovations that we've come up with is something called Ask AI, where you can go in and you can watch a video, but also pause and ask the video a question. For example, what colors are available in that shirt that I just saw? Or where can I buy that new jacket that I just saw in the video? So being able to really interact with video the way we would interact with a document or text when we go out and do searches and things like that. Another thing we're looking at in the future with AI is really being able to use a multimodal searching technique. For example, you may be watching a video and you see someone wearing a blue skirt. Now you'll be able to ask, where can I buy that blue skirt? So it's actually, we're looking at the video and the contents of that video, identifying that blue skirt. And then when you ask the question, we'll be able to provide you an answer or provide you an idea of where you can actually purchase it. So really exciting stuff around video and AI specifically. Of course, all these enterprise customers really demand core enterprise features as well. These are things like integrations to platforms like Marketo, which is probably something a lot of you are using today. And then the demands from the IT organizations at these companies are really looking for something that's secure, that's reliable, and also has a nice support program behind it as well. These are all critical for the enterprise companies that we work with today. So what's the benefit of video to increase your sales and customer engagement? Let's jump into that. We'll take a look at some statistics first, right? 87% of shoppers have been convinced to buy a product because they're watching video. We're constantly watching video. We're constantly being barraged with advertisements, customer testimonials, and also product videos. And that's what we're reacting to today. 78% of shoppers say they prefer to watch a video than read a PDF or some other form of information that's out there and available. Interesting is that 82% of all the content on the internet today is video-based. Most people, or there's an average of 3.3 hours of video watched every day per person. People are just buried in their phones and they want video because it's so engaging. It's important, like in my what I do at Vimeo with learning and development, retention is really high when you watch video. You're going to remember the things that you saw in a video, and you're going to tell people about that. Also, it motivates people to engage with the brands and the content from the brand. This whole thing ties back to the title of this session, which is really around storytelling and making it more compelling. So these are the real reasons why people are using video. I'm sure everyone in the webinar today is using video at some level and getting a benefit from this. So let's jump into the 3 ways that you can use video to engage with your customers. So let's really understand how you can leverage these in your marketing campaigns. There's 3 different types of videos that you can incorporate in your video strategy. The first one is product spotlights. We've seen these all the time. These might be like feature and benefits of your product, how-to videos, and you can use these across all mediums, social, on your website, through email, many different ways to share those. And then the other thing you can do is add interactive elements to the video. So I'm not just watching the video, but I'm engaging with the video as well. So for an example, let's say that you're selling a new jacket and you want to show how it's waterproof, how it's lightweight, and how it's packable. You can use interactive video to allow the customer to click through the item on the screen in the video and be able to share this additional information with them. Another area is customer stories. We see these things, customer stories like unboxings, right? I love the unboxings videos that you see online. There's something that's really compelling for customers to look at and get an idea of what your product does. Another thing, of course, is customer reviews. We see those constantly out there, and customer reviews are a huge benefit for us as sellers because we're getting feedback directly from our customers, not only how good our product is, but maybe some places where we need to improve our products as well. And then, of course, behind the scenes content, which I love. Maybe it's a how-to video, meaning how we made this video. Maybe you have videos like showcasing your culture or sustainability. These videos are critical as well to establish your brand and the culture of your company. Another thing you need to think of is about being able to really reach a global audience. And one way you can do that is using AI translations so your content is accessible, not just in the US, for example, but worldwide, really touching the globe across the board with your products. So when we look overall at video strategy, there's many different ways that you can share your video strategy. And one of them is through a customer journey. When you look at the customer journey, this is really aligned to the kind of videos that you can create. And it's as important as how you showcase these videos in your customer journey. You can place them strategically in the buyer journey from awareness all the way to post-purchase. And they could be shown on your websites, in social, in blogs, in email campaigns, many different ways to share your videos out there. And one of the most important things here is to provide a call to action. So as you're going through each of these phases, it's always important to have a call to action. Using video for that call to action, combined with things like interactivity, is going to really be what drives engagement with your customer and eventually having them go and actually purchase your product. So I'm going to tie this back to Vimeo a little bit and your teams and how they can take advantage of a video strategy. This starts with organizing your content, managing your content, creating, updating content, and also measuring the impact. Using analytics in Vimeo, you'll be able to see how many people viewed your video, how long they viewed the video for, when they actually dropped off. And this is going to give you insight into the value of the campaign that you're launching, and will help you identify where you may need to shift your strategy as you're using video for marketing. So with that, let me jump into a customer example. And we have a customer called Nonstop Dogwear. If anyone's heard of that, pretty cool company. They create high performance dog gear for active dogs and their owners. And what issue that they wanted to solve with video is they had a really high return rate on their product. And the reason why is because sizing for their products, for their dogs, is very challenging, and it wasn't really intuitive to the customers as to how they should be sizing the products they were purchasing from Nonstop Dogwear. So they decided to partner with Vimeo in order to improve customer satisfaction. They introduced interactive videos. So these interactive videos walks the customer through the product features and details on how to measure their dog for the perfect fit. What this actually introduced was a an idea that you can fit your dog using interactive videos and make sure that the fit was perfect. So this led to a lot less returns for Nonstop Dogwear overall. They also introduced interactive quizzes in their video, and this provided a personalized shopping experience that led to 34% higher click-through rate, which is amazing, using the interactive video. What shoppers did is they answered questions about their dog's activities and what their needs were, and an engaging video guides them through the right product in order for them to purchase. So we're going to wrap this up by taking a look at a Nonstop Dogwear video. So if you can play that video.
For us, it's about really like having a better user experience. We are mostly using interactive videos within Vimeo, and there we have different ways we are using it. One of them is to just have product videos and show the features. They see the product and click on different parts of it, and then another video pops up and they see the feature. This is because while many people probably know how, I don't know, dog collar or leash looks, we have some more technical products, and this way we can really show the features and visualize it. We have been getting very good feedback from our customers that this is like just so helpful, this type of content.
Awesome. So that was a great example of what Nonstop Dogwear did with Vimeo interactive video, and something similar to what you can do as well. And we'd love to work with everyone on the call today to help explore some opportunities for partnering and also creating interactive video. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Manish. We actually have a first question for you, if you wouldn't mind answering it.
Yeah.
We have a question from Ned Gallup. He's the Director of Acquisition from Ray and Optics. He asks, how do you get consistent quality content from customers? Typically, their video content / submissions are lower quality.
Yeah, so we support up to 4K. So when we're working with creators and marketing teams at different companies, we ask them to provide the highest quality they can provide. Now, we can work with whatever quality that they do provide, but of course, the higher quality, the better. How do we get that from them? I guess we really show them examples. Here's what your video would look like in the quality you're providing, and here's an example of what a higher quality video could actually do for you as a company. And I think everybody knows when you lower the quality of the video, you generally want to show it on a smaller scale, right? You're not going to blow it up, and that's what's been a challenge for a lot of customers. But at the same time, sometimes lower quality videos important to them because of the amount of bandwidth that they have and their consumers might be having.
Great, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll have lots of questions for you on the panel. We're going to run into the polls portion of the webinar. So I'm going to bring up the first poll here. The question one is, what is the biggest challenge your team faces in creating compelling content? Is it A, lack of time or resources, B, difficulty aligning content with the customer journey, C, measuring success of content efforts, D, keeping up with trends like interactive content, E, personalizing content at scale, or F, other, specify that in the chat. All right, so it looks like we have most of the responses are for lack of time or resources. So it looks like we need more investments in that. Very interesting. Okay, coming up on the next question. Let's see here. What aspect of storytelling do you think has the greatest impact on driving conversions? Is it A, connecting emotionally with the audience, B, showcasing benefits through video, C, creating interactive or shoppable content, D, aligning storytelling with specific consumer journey stages, or E, personalizing the narrative with AI? Oh, it's pretty split. So it looks like we've got about 29% is connecting emotionally with the audience. 19% is showcasing the benefits through video. Almost no one said personalizing the narrative with AI. So that's interesting. That'll come up later. So I'm interested to see what you guys have to say about that. All right, so then moving on to the next one. This is actually our final question concerns our March 5th webinar. This is the one that I mentioned earlier, the Inspiring Digital Experiences Shaping 2025. That's going to be headed up by Scott Silverman. He wants to know, in the quest for brand differentiation, is it worth building unique and novel online shopping experiences, even if it takes time for your shoppers to get familiar with the new experiences and sales may dig temporarily? Do you A, strongly agree, B, somewhat agree, C, neither agree nor disagree, D, somewhat disagree, or E, strongly disagree? So it's pretty much the majority, 58% here say somewhat agree, and 23% is strongly agree. So they'll review that on the March 5th webinar, so you want to make sure to join that. Well, with that, that concludes our polling portion. I'm going to bring up our panelists now. Robert, if you wouldn't mind bringing everyone up on stage. Welcome, welcome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. We got to know Manish a little bit through his presentation, but the audience has yet to meet you and the rest of the panelists on the webinar. So I'm going to start with Angela. Please tell us a little bit about Patagonia and your remit there.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everybody. Happy to be here. So I work for Patagonia. Patagonia is a mission-based apparel brand that focuses in outdoor apparel for outdoor activities, from highly technical gear to everyday wear. And so we just celebrated 51 years in the business. So, and I run the digital commerce side of the business.
Awesome. Colleen, tell us a little bit about Steve Madden.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Colleen. I am VP of e-commerce here at Steve Madden. The company started over 30 years ago in the fashion footwear space, and it's really elevated to a full lifestyle brand, as well as a parent company that also includes Dolce Vita, Betsy Johnson, Blondo, and ATM.
Fantastic. And Ashley?
Hi everyone, Ashley Shapiro, American Eagle. American Eagle is the #1 jeans brand for men and women ages 15 to 25 in the US and women of all ages, which we are super proud of. I do a lot of marketing here, everything from media to performance, social, influencer, PR, collaborations, creative, all the fun stuff. So super excited to be talking with all of you today.
Last but not least, Carly?
Yeah, thanks. Super excited to be here. So I'm the SVP of marketing at Fabletics. And the thing that I really love about Fabletics that we'll get into a bit today is that I really think, as I love that I'm on a panel with brands that have been around for, many, many years. Fabletics is celebrating its 11th year. And as an 11-year brand, we really have the infrastructure and resources to support long-term growth. But we also have the heart and the hustle of a startup, which I absolutely love to be a part of. And as a membership-based brand, we have such deep insights on our consumers that help really deliver those personalized experiences. And the last thing I would say is what that data really allows us is to consistently test and learn. So we'll talk a bit more about that today, but we really have this learning culture where we're constantly testing, optimizing, and moving forward to put out the most engaging and exciting content for our consumers.
That's actually a great tee up to what I was about to say, which is what I love about this group is that while the cross-section is apparel, they have a really nice mixture of, we have D2C, we have traditional and retail, we have a membership-driven, focus on different demographics, different age groups, different lifestyles. And I know that on our prep call, a lot of us agreed that, all the touch points are important when connecting with consumers, but there were certain unique answers that came from each of you. So my opening question is all about getting a beat on where your focus is when it comes to content. And I'm going to start, with all the brands on this panel. I'll start with you, Ashley, and then we'll go to Angela. But is there a content channel or a content type that you focus on more than others because it drives more meaningful engagement for you?
Yeah, I think yes and no. I know this is a bad answer, but I'd really say it's 3 things I really think about when I think about content and what performs. So number 1, obviously young people, 15 to 25-year-olds, they move the fastest. So in terms of that strategy, it has to be really nimble. You need to be able to follow them. Every day there's a new platform, there's a new trend. We have Blue Sky, we have Lemonade, we don't have Lemonade, we have Be Real, we don't have Be Real, we have TikTok, we don't have TikTok. It's very confusing. So number one, really listen to your customers and follow them. Second piece, and I'm sure this will be consistent for the group, influencer and creator content, especially in the social space, for us, it performs about 3 times better than brand content. It's authentic, it shows up real. A lot of times it's something that's native to that talent. And what's an interesting piece for that is we obviously, similar to Angela, have a male and a female customer. And how they respond to content is similar in the sense that they both are very responsive to creative and influencer content. But what that content is and what it surrounds is the variance. So women, if you're talking about buying clothes, you will consume that anywhere. We just want to shop all day long, right? We love style. Men, especially a 15 to 25-year-old, a little bit harder to cut through. So really creating that content and surrounding things that he loves, sports, gaming, music. And then last, but certainly not least, I would say content that is really responsive to culture. Obviously, I hope you all saw Kendrick Lamar's Flares at the Super Bowl. That was really a moment that we capitalized on because there was a lot of chatter saying, those look like my jeans from the 2000s. We saw an increase of close to like 180% increase in search volume of Flares on our site. So really tapping into cultural moments, I think, is a big thing for us.
Great. Angela?
I'm sorry, just cut out. Was that for me? Yes.
Yeah.
So there's 2 areas for us because our content spans everything from fully feature film, as well as, ambassador content, which is more our only real space that we play in from a UGC perspective to date. So for us on platform, actually, there's quite a bit of engagement there because we will premiere films on our content on our website. There's a dedicated spot on the platform for that. But then I would say secondarily is YouTube because of the variety of content that we offer. So a lot of times there's informative content, there's storytelling. We do a lot of deep storytelling about experience, about environmental impacts and change. And so that's our top 2 areas right now. And obviously we're exploring other areas, which we'll probably get into a little bit more. But we're finding a lot of interesting engagement in CTV for us for that more acquisition channel, just because of the quality of content that we often produce. It's a good channel for us to be able to capitalize on that as well.
Great. And what about you, Colleen?
Yeah, very similar to Angela. We've been going all in on YouTube as of late. We really put more emphasis there in the back half of 2024 with some learnings coming out of our summer and especially fall campaigns. We're seeing really strong recall rates. I think we did a really great job of integrating our brand DNA into the videos that we showed. It was very clearly us. We shot a long campaign video for fall that we could intentionally break into standalone shorter periods that highlighted different product categories throughout the season. So it helped us to stay relevant longer and get more out of what we shot to keep that storytelling going. So maybe we focused on sneaker content from the video early on, then transitioned to boots as an example. And we saw consistent lifts through the funnel, driving awareness, consideration, and favorability. So now we're utilizing more influencer content there as well in shorts.
Great. And Carly?
Yeah, I think I'll just build on what Ashley was saying, specifically around influencer content. So over the last year, we've actually doubled the size of our influencer community, specifically within the micro community. A lot of it is really around building trust and relatability with your consumers. So again, as a membership model, there's an additional hurdle that people have to get over to purchase your product. And our influencer network has really helped to break down some of those barriers for us. We really focus specifically with our micros really around the content. So, we rely on our celebrity and ambassadors to really focus on scale, but the content and making sure that it feels brand right and is delivering the right message has been really key to us. Similar to Ashley, we see that convert at a much higher level than a lot of our branded content, specifically through our social media channels, through paid, organic. And the great thing is that we take and repurpose that content really throughout the consumer journey. So we'll talk in a little bit about additional ways in which we're using that UGC and influencer content throughout the journey. But we are very purposeful around how we know you, how long we've known you as a consumer, and what type of content. And then, the influencers really sit above that as the halo to drive awareness, education about the membership, and then really around our superior quality of product.
That's actually a really good segue into my next question for the rest of the panelists, which is, how are you aligning your content strategy with the different stages of the consumer journey to maximize that engagement? And you talked a little bit about that, Carly. I don't know if you want to expand a little bit more on that. Are there other examples that on how you use content in different stages of the journey besides the UGC and the PDP page?
Yeah, for sure. So we have really 3 stages of consumers. As we really think about acquiring new consumers and bringing them into the Fabletics ecosystem, we really focus on our acquisition offer. So we put a lot of dollars behind performance marketing, all of that being video content to really engage people and get people brought into the ecosystem. Then once you're in, you are basically served up with another experience where you're getting more education on the product, the brand ethos. And then once you become a member, you're then given even additional content. So it's everything from branded content to all of the UGC content that's pulled directly from our influencer network. And something that we just launched in November that we've seen huge success around is taking that UGC content, and putting it on our PDPs. So we basically set out to have the goal of having 60% of our PDPs to have UGC content on them. And each of those has between 3 and 4 videos so that you see some diversity. So you see everything from styling. Ashley mentioned this. It definitely is a difference between genders of what men react to versus what women react to. So, we focus on the styling and outfit of the day and, people kind of on the go. And on the men's side, we really focus on workouts. And what we've seen as a before and after is we've seen a lot of our consumers really engaging with this content and then seeing higher conversion on the pages that have UGC through the PDP. So again, it's really about tailoring the message based on, where in the journey the consumer is. But I do love that we're taking a lot of that really highly engaged with content that's coming from social and putting it into the shopping journey, because people are shopping in social platforms and social platforms are now coming into the shopping journey on site. So it's a really good integration of having them together. And then the last thing I would say is it's actually a balance of thinking about that highly curated content on your site with that UGC content. So, we have Kevin Hart, Khloe Kardashian, Becky G, where we have this very stylized content. And I believe that the UGC kind of rounds out the brand, is thinking about it from a relatability standpoint. So I do love kind of the mix of content throughout the journey as well.
I actually would like to weave in a question from our audience that has to do with PDPs. Maria Henderson, e-commerce marketing manager at Shane Company, said, when showing product features on PDPs, how would you suggest adding them to a large product assortment with various features?
Yeah. So for us, if I'm talking specifically about the UGC content, it really is about making sure that our influencers understand the product benefits and talk about them in a way that feels natural. So, it's certainly not natural if they're speaking how our designers speak. Our designers definitely have a certain lens in which they're speaking. So we make sure that our influencers are up to date on all product benefits and then think about how to weave that in a just very natural language kind of way. So that's one thing. But speaking of designers, we also feature on our PDPs our designers actually speaking about our product. So, we're really maniacal about fit and fabric, and that comes through in how they talk about it. So I think it really is a blend of how people are talking about it, but I do love having influencers talk about it in a very natural, relatable way where people are like, great, this is going to make, this is going to fit amazing, or like, this is high impact. What does that mean? I'm able to go for a run in this. So I do love that we're doing that.
It's great. So I'm going to go back to the original question about aligning the content strategy to different stages of the consumer journey. I want to go to Angela, because you talked a little bit about CTV, is all about reach. What is your content strategy and how do you connect with people at different stages?
Yeah, to pick up on the CTV part, so we have two strategies. One is acquisition and one's retargeting, and we're finding really high engagement and actual revenue from both of those tactics. But as far as, so we have sort of the content that we're using more for acquisition, which is usually about the product, about experience. We also have an activism platform, and we also have a re-commerce business as well. So all three of those different channels are kind of out there to just inform people that we have that available. And then when you land on the site, there are points on the PDP, much like we just discussed, where we have video that tends to be more informative, video, product centric, to be able to explain more complicated product that you might need to understand how to fit it, or all the features and functions and benefits of that product. And then we do a lot of storytelling within the retention space as well, because there is so much going on. And we have found people are actually really interested in things that are beyond just the product for us. So and trying to move customers into the activism space is something that's one of our missions as a brand. So if we could have every customer become an activist, that could change the entire world. So that is one of the journeys that's not natural, but we kind of trying to create a customer journey that inspires that in a way by telling those stories that are more aspirational, that you would think of, from a big magazine or Nat Geo or something like that. And so we kind of balance all of that a little bit, which can be complicated at times. But I think our biggest opportunity for the next 2 years is to really showcase how our ambassadors really help us design product and telling that story that's really compelling for the customer, where they actually help us innovate that product. And we don't really showcase that enough. You'll see it on social from time to time, but really want to put that into the customer journey as well, so you understand the technical credibility of why something might last you 10 years if you buy it from us, because our product is more expensive and it is a considered purchase. So I think it's really critical within that customer journey that we show the value of the product as well.
Absolutely. Ashley, do you have anything to add to this? You talked a little bit about social, like how do all those touch points fit in?
Yeah, I mean, I think content strategy today is a marketer's dream and a marketer's nightmare at the same time. So it's a dream because you get to create so much of it, and it's a nightmare because you need so much of it. You sort of can't decide based on the day. I guess I would answer the question slightly differently, just because I think today, if we think about measurement and also just like optimizable media that's machine learning based, so much of your content strategy is driven by how people react to it, right? So like you can use tools like MMM, MTA, or even, not to get nerdy, but like ASC and Meta or PMAX to understand what content is coming to the forefront and what people are responding to. And then it sort of naturally migrates into that part of the funnel. So you might have, CTV is different because it's much more like, but let's not use that. Let's use paid social as an example. You're going to naturally see what people are clicking through against in Snap versus in Meta, in an upper funnel versus a middle versus a lower funnel. So I think content strategy to some degree is driven by your customer, and it's driven by data. And I think that art and science of marketing and content strategy is going to become more and more important, especially as things like AI and all of this continue to become more important to how we consume, but also how we create.
Great. And Colleen?
Yeah, I think to scale it like way back, it can be as simple as partnering with influencers in social channels and then having, curations of their favorite items on the site. using their images on the site all the way down to PDP. But like Carly hit on, really leaning into influencer partners to fuel the content and starting to think of influencers as a full funnel channel, right? So if you think about that in like a TikTok lens, for example, you're using different versions of the creative with different goals across Pulse, across shops, across video shopping ads, and kind of leaning into that full funnel strategy within specific channels like TikTok Shop. So significantly improved our ROAS and seen triple digit lifts in incremental demand. So kind of thinking of that funnel in a very different way and really leaning into that.
Great. My next question is all about video. So I'm going to go to Manish actually first for that one. The question is to the panel is, how are you leveraging video content to enhance the customer engagement and drive sales? And what types of video content do you find most effective? Manish, you've got the unique perspective on the panel of kind of being able to say, this is what I see across the board. So what are kind of like video trends or best practices that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I think a few things I mentioned earlier, I'll double down on a little bit. Is one of them is personalized videos. I think that personalized video, making the connection. We talk about storytelling and getting that emotional tie. So the personalized video, whether it's through influencers or you're creating it internally, that's super critical in engagement. The other one is shoppable videos. So I'm watching a video and I'm engaging with that video, not just sitting there reading something on your website. So the ability to interact with the video, learn more about the products, and then eventually have a call to action at the end of the video or in the middle of the video to click, and it'll put something in my cart and I can just purchase it right there. I think those are the key trends that are out there. I think everyone on the call today has kind of reflected on that a little bit and how they're doing things. And I think that's what the go forward motion is, right? It's not about just going on your website, searching for flare jeans and buying it. I want to see how it relates to other things that I'm doing right in my life, whether it's lifestyle, cultural, et cetera.
Does anyone else want to weigh in on that? Colleen?
Yeah. We launched like TikTok Shop last year, keep with my TikTok theme. We were already advertising there, but having the product right there to shop was really a game changer in that performance and meeting the customer where they were. And I think a lot of the success there isn't having content that feels like a brand commercial, but does feel organic. And as part of, the influencer, the customer's day-to-day life, which I think Ashley really hit on earlier. It can just be a feature in their get ready with me or their day in the life content. It doesn't always have to be totally dedicated, and it tends to feel more organic to the consumer when it's not.
Angela, you mentioned some of the beautiful videos that Patagonia produces that ladder back to the brand mission. Is there like anything else that you want to add to that about, how you're using it to drive that engagement?
Yeah, I think, for us, it is having multiple forms. So even like our Black Friday campaign, which was kind of an anti-Black Friday, we're kind of famous for actually not being on sale and talking about our brand mission during that Black Friday, Cyber Monday period. So we had a brand video that actually we shut down all other messaging within, outbound channels to only focus on that Black Friday message. But then we were able to, chop that down into smaller 15 bytes, 30-second bytes across other platforms. And that performed extremely well for us to the point where we're looking at how do we re-engage that same message because it resonated. I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It was highly emotional and people really connected with it. So in those points where, you're using more brand stylized video, I think that emotional connection is really, really critical because obviously, like everyone said here, that sort of UGC has a more intimate response. And so I think for us as a brand, one of my challenges in my role is really trying to balance the brand governance with, just having things out in the wild, as you would say. And so, other brands I worked for True Religion previous to this, and we didn't have the same level of, protectionism on the brand. So it's something we're moving probably a little bit slower than other brands. And I'm really in awe of what some of the people on this panel are doing and can't wait to get my hands in some of that work as well. But we kind of have to work with the founders and the leadership to really get comfortable with some of those, benefits and costs and risk of sort of being a little more loose on where we are, and like things like TikTok Shop and things like that, which I think could be game changers for the brand. But it's definitely something that is a little more challenging for me as a lead in my current role, for sure.
And shifting gears slightly, going back to something that Manish said before about shoppable content, I'm curious to know, I'll go with you, Manish, first, because you mentioned this. How are you starting to see brands use this? Where are we as far as the tech is concerned? On the prep call, you mentioned that there's a lot that could be perfected on various platforms. So I just want to get your take on shoppable content, and then I want to see how the brands are actually using it.
Yeah, so across the board, we're seeing it pick up. A lot of people are using it. Yeah, the tech needs to continue to evolve so that you can do more shoppable content on platforms like TikTok based on their standards that they have out there. But we've seen it start from people using shoppable content to purchase or create recipes, or to create purchased cooking gear from like Jamie Oliver, things like that, all the way to what we're seeing now, which is more similar to how the example I showed you today. So that driving towards interactive video and searchable shoppable content is something that's impacting how consumers are engaging with you and not pulling you away from your site. So by using shoppable videos, you're keeping them in your sphere, right? If you're just using your website or putting your videos out on YouTube, when someone's searching for a pair of jeans, they might see the Gap show up, and they might see, Banana Republic and everything else. And then when you're using shoppable video, you can keep them inside your sphere on your website without getting influenced by Google or YouTube or anyone else.
Great. And Colleen, I know you had some thoughts around this too, that you're doing some experimenting.
Yeah. Definitely with the learns that I shared on TikTok Shop, not so much on the site directly, definitely stepping towards more interactive, looking at campaigns a little differently. Maybe we have the video, not necessarily shoppable, but then having, shoppable lookbooks of the still photography kind of sitting there with that. So that's something that we're definitely looking into. And then again, more interactive content than shoppable content on like the Snapchat side, lots of interactive filters when we've done like campus tours and things like that. We've dabbled in virtual try on, which is a little hard in the shoe world. It's got to be like a perfect closed toe shoe. You can't really do it in like a sandal. So not a lot of truly shoppable video, but kind of stepping stones to get there for sure.
Carly, what about you?
Yeah, so similar to Colleen, we've also been experimenting with TikTok Shop. I think we all know that there are countless creators on TikTok, and really establishing who are the best people to speak on behalf of your brand. What we've learned since we've launched it is really honing in on that right talent to actually speak to it and sell it. There's creators who drive awareness and really engage and entertain your consumer. And then there's different creators who truly sell to your consumer. And I think, when we're looking at TikTok Shop, you really have to figure out what is the CTA that you want them to talk about, and how do they actually convert? And, whether or not it's like through UTMs or how you're tracking conversion. But, it's really important as you lean into platforms like this, that you're constantly looking at to see who's performing for you, and cycling through to make sure that you're getting the greatest performance out of those that, are specifically in that channel for the reason to convert.
Great. And Ashley, I know that we talked a little bit about shoppable ad units on the prep call. And want to share some of your insights around that?
Yes. We deploy shoppable ad units across all of our platforms. So Meta, TikTok, Snap, Google, YouTube, Trade Desk, using programmatic advertising, all the way through to CTV, where we've had QR codes or retargeting via mobile, so we can continue the conversation. I think the thought is really, people can really shop anywhere now. It's sort of scary in a way, right? Like there's nothing you really do where there isn't an opportunity to purchase something. So making that easier, which I think somebody said earlier, is really the goal. What we're seeing from a performance perspective is our shoppable videos have really been performing better and better each season. I think part of that's content, right? We're getting better at it. But our latest seasonal report showed that our iROAS was about 40% higher than our normal hurdle rate. So we're really seeing that positive impact, and then took it one step further and did some brand lift study work. And again, seeing positive gains season after season. This is not exactly a shoppable ad unit, but I do think it's worth mentioning, just given some of the conversations and all the focus on influencer. You know, the affiliate influencer is like the most simple shoppable video ad unit out there, right? Like the Like to Know It's of the world, the ShopMy's, those are shoppable video ad units. And I think that has taken off in such a way. It's really remarkable. And I think even for just a slightly older demographic than mine, it's even faster. But that really is like that fusion of taking a creator, influencer, and merging it with an ad unit and selling products. So that's another way to look at it.
I'm going to fold in another question from our audience. This is from Dan Ju, who's a senior solutions engineer from Fermat. He says, I'm curious to know what kind of insights you've gathered from A/B testing on both ad experiences, but also the website post-click experience. Does anyone want to take a stab at that?
I can kind of take a stab, but if somebody else wants to go, I'd be happy to volley that one over.
I can take it. So we are constantly doing so much testing. I think everything we do, we A/B test. So whether or not it's emails or site experience, we're actually currently testing our member homepage. And so what we're doing is we're basically A/B testing new versus old, and then continuing to optimize. So we're in the third iteration of testing. We're going through 2-week flighting. And what we do is garner what are the insights that we're getting out of the testing around our websites. Then we go into a 2-week redesign, we redesign, and then we launch it again to try and have essentially the new variant win. And we do that ultimately until our hypothesis proves out. In this case, we want the new website to beat out the old website. And we can really identify what are the key attributes that people are going through and clicking on. So that's just one recent example that we're doing. But again, we're constantly A/B testing. We're going to talk about AI in a bit, but really testing from a personalized perspective, all of our emails, testing creative, testing copy. And then the last thing I would say from a media perspective, we get up on Monday morning and look at all the results of all of our paid ads, pick out the best one, and then take it and build multiple iterations of the top performing ad, and then continue to test and iterate until we understand what is the top performing, and then just keep putting dollars against it until we see it stop performing. So I think there's testing going through the entire funnel. What it really takes is resources and really someone to understand the data. At Fabletics, we have a pretty robust data and analytics team that's built internally. So we have access to so many reports, but there's a full team just dedicated to our paid media team. So I think, that really helps to inform the decisions that we're making. And the thing I love about it is that we're constantly learning and really understanding what is our consumer reacting to within our ecosystem and what is our consumer reacting to as a first-time viewer of the brand.
Actually, it sounded like you also had an answer to this.
No, I mean, I think Carly answered it really well. The only thing I would add on is, obviously internally robust testing, similarly what Carly talked about. But I do think the testing agenda in the media space is just, it's crazy now what you could do, right? I think, geo tests, making sure that's always on, there's weather trigger tests, there's testing on, you could test upon the test upon the test. And I think ultimately, the message that I would say, just if you and your organization are, embarking on a testing agenda, is number one, make sure you are not over testing to the point that you are affecting the homeostasis of your business. Like there are certain moments in time where we are not testing because it's just too high risk. Like for us, holiday, back to school and retail, that is the wild, wild west. It is not a good time to test because you really don't know what's going to happen, right? So that's one. And then two, make sure you're testing to really get insights for things you want to learn, because we don't want data paralysis. And listen, I am all for testing. My team has a very robust testing agenda, but we also want to make sure that we're taking insights and we're doing things that we're actually going to learn from that are going to change our behaviors. Because like Carly said, it takes a lot of work to set these things up and make sure that you are reading results and doing it effectively.
Anybody else want to take a stab at this?
They crushed it.
Awesome. Well, I'm cognizant of time here. I can't believe we only have 5 minutes left. So I'm going to move on to a question that I had about future trends. I'm going to go to Manish first, but looking ahead, what content trends or technologies do you think will have the biggest impact on retail storytelling and commerce? What is your future trends forecast?
Yeah, so I think one of them is like choose your own adventure, right? Looking at an ad, telling your own story through video. I think that's something that we're seeing more and more customers are asking for. So, in the Patagonia example, right? Let's imagine you're going through and maybe you're going to go to Chile, right? And climb a glacier, let's say, or you're going to go and climb a mountain at Everest, right? Choose your own adventure and what kind of accessories and clothing you need for things like that. So that's something that's really compelling, and that's what we're seeing a trend in. In addition to that, just AI overall, right? Everyone's trying to figure out a way to leverage AI, and whether it's what I mentioned earlier about interacting and asking AI questions or using multimodal search within videos using AI, all those things are the trends that we're going to start to see. So AI is going to allow us to interact better and more effectively with video, and it's also going to give us a larger audience globally with video by using things like AI translation.
What about you, Ashley? What are your predictions?
You stole the AI answer. Now what am I going to say? What's the future? We're all at a loss now. I think it's AI, but like with a slightly different twist to it. I think one, obviously AI is going to let us create content at scale like we've never seen before. I think the tricky part there is, like Angelo, or you were saying, like the brand piece of that, brand safety, authenticity. What is that, slippery slope? But also, you're seeing these technologies come out where you're being able to use AI and data to create the concept, right? Like, what are the things that are you can plug it in and say, like, I don't know, what do 20-year-olds love most today? Or Pinterest predicts. Like, Pinterest predicts is amazing. Like, you find out Pinterest is predicting that this trend is what your actual customer, they go in and they say, the American Eagle customer on Pinterest right now is following these trends. And these are the things they predict that they're looking for. And then you could just create the content like that. I think that the education and the data and the learning that we have is just allowing us to react to our customer so much better, but also so much faster.
What about you, Angela?
That's amazing. So yeah, I think, AI is revolutionizing a lot of things for us. And so I think for me, it is also, in addition to kind of what has already been said, is just better learnings for us internally on sort of what's working, what's resonating with people, and helping us inform how we make change faster and impact the business more holistically. The outdoor industry is going through a bit of a revolution right now. And so a lot of those bigger brands are definitely trying to figure out their footing a little bit more. So I think for us, it's that testing, learning from that, but then to your point, like, how does that help us inform our path for the future and the strategy that we do have, and helping validate that that's the most impactful strategy that we can move forward on. And I also agree with Ashley said, like, I want to test things that I can run with or informative, and we can test every little minutia piece in the world. But if you're actually not going to use it for actionable and have an impact on your overall performance, then what are you really doing that for? Especially in an organization that has, more constrained resources, it's really critical that that's onto a path of something that we're trying to effect in the future. So for me, I think that's really where I see a lot of exciting change. And for us, I think conversational commerce is another piece, to be really specific from an AI perspective. That I think the example you just gave is, going on a camping trip. I might be by our Jackson Hole store, but the temperature is going to be these things. I own these things already with Patagonia. What is it that I'm missing? To be able to help people engage in that way and have that sort of virtual high touch experience digitally that they would experience in the store is something that I'm really excited about, to see how we can mimic that experience as close as possible. Yeah.
Thank you. And Colleen?
Yeah, I think versioning as a whole, AI or otherwise, but being able to get a lot of life out of each content and adjusting those for the different audiences and channels is definitely going to continue to be important. I think on the content front too, looking at more longer term partnerships with influencers, especially if you think about maybe an existing influencer we have a relationship with that gets engaged, kind of spreading out and following them on that journey, from the shower to the bachelorette to getting shoes on all the bridal party, and kind of being able to get extended life and just being part of those lifestyle moments more than one-off content here and there.
Carly, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, sure. Since my answer was also AI, I've just been thinking about how else to answer this question. But so I'll take it in a little bit of a different direction. I think it's also about in real life experiences, right? Like AI is going to transform our world. I think there's also the aspect of malls are back. Like people are looking for real life experiences. Dating apps are at an all-time decline since launched. And so people are also looking for those in real life experiences, but content is a big piece of that. So how do you use content to drive people to these real life experiences? How do you use content to amplify these experiences? How do you use the experiences to build up your database of members or visitors or consumers? So I think there's an element of how that's going to continue to move forward. And I think it was probably, like 7 or 8 years ago where people were like, retail was dead. And then they're like, oh no, actually experiential retail is here. And, it keeps moving. And so we're going to keep seeing things evolve. But I think that real life experience and that connection that consumers will have with the brand is still really meaningful, especially to drive that emotion for a consumer. And we just really have to think about how content plugs into that and becomes a part of the experience seamlessly. Because in some ways it's a little bit fragmented and not seamless today. So it's about thinking about how to make it more seamless. Wherever the consumer is, you're feeding them the content and driving and engaging with them along the way. And also AI.
Thank you so much. We're past time, and I really appreciate all the time that you guys have spent today. Manish, Ashley, Angela, Carly, Colleen, I really appreciate you guys. There was so much buzz in the chat here with the attendees, so I know it was a hit. And looking forward to seeing you guys next time on our March 5th webinar. Thank you, everybody, for joining.